Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our webinar series here for the Kalispell Chamber. This week, we're all about upcoming highway projects. We're pleased to be able to feature today Bob Vosen, who's the Montana Department of Transportation District 1 Administrator, who's been a great supporter here for all of our projects here in the Flathead. Bob covers all of western Montana, including Missoula and Ravalli counties and everything west of the Divide. I think you'll be very interested to hear about what he's got to offer today in terms of the projects that are coming up, including the Foy's Lake Roundabout project, work occurring in downtown Kalispell, and other projects all around the valley. Super presentation. Just by way of background, we've got future seminars coming up like this via Zoom on the top issues of the day around Kalispell and the Flathead Valley. On Wednesday, the 29th, we'll have Senator John Tester talking about the CARES Act Phase 4 bill that'll pick up questions of business liability issues around COVID, what's happening with unemployment, extended unemployment benefits, and other issues around CARES Act, including PPP, relief programs, and others. We're pleased to have Micah Hill, the superintendent of Kalispell Schools, on board with us August 12th to talk about the plan for return to school, and we'll announce other projects going in the future. This program is live on here and on Facebook. The recording will be available afterwards. And so, Bob, we're very pleased to have you join us today, and I'll turn it over to you.
I want to thank everyone for showing interest in MDT and what we have going on to invite me to present to you. I encourage comments through the Q&A portion at the bottom of the screen. And I do apologize, I don't have a terribly formalized slideshow. This is going to be more of a informative presentation. Just talking about what MDT has going on in the valley. And the first thing that I wanted to discuss was some of our ongoing construction projects, things that are taking place right now. Very pleased to say that other than final striping, we are done with the two construction projects that started last year, which were the overlay projects on US 93 and Highway 2. That's part of our Keeping Good Roads Good program, pavement preservation. Those projects were chip sealed this spring, and we do have final striping coming up in the near future on those. And then the other project of interest that's actually going to start Sunday night, and that is the Kalispell Concrete Rehab project. And I am going to share my screen if this works right this time. And everyone should be seeing Google Maps right now, zoomed in on Helena. That's where the mothership is, as we say. So we'll get up here to Kalispell. And this project, the Kalispell Concrete Rehab, like I said, is going to, there's two portions of road. The first begins here at Meridian and runs to the end of the concrete, approximately in this area here, before you go under Underpass Hill. I can turn satellite on. And then there's also a portion of it that runs from Center Street north to Wyoming, and with one small chunk of concrete broken up piece of concrete in this area here. This work, as I said, will all be taking place during nighttime hours, Sunday night through Thursday night, typically beginning at 7 p.m., ending at 7 a.m. We're recognizing the tremendous traffic volumes in the area, trying to reduce impacts as much as possible for that. The work is any of the badly broken up concrete panels will be removed and replaced. Some of the panels that maybe have one fault or crack through them, they'll do what we call stitching, which is basically doing some grooves, cutting grooves in the concrete and inserting a piece of rebar in there to tie the slab back together. And then when they're done with all of that, they come through and do a diamond grind or a micro mill. It's a process where we use a machine to grind the top of the surface or cut the top of the surface smooth. So one of the advantages to that, there's two major advantages. One is that it makes the road smoother. The other thing is it does reduce traffic noise as well with the grooves in the roadway surface. And again, this type of project is one that falls under our pavement preservation classification, where we've got a road that's in reasonably good shape and we just want to refresh it a little bit rather than have to start over with new construction. So again, that project will start Sunday night, and it's anticipated it's going to go into October before we're complete with that project. There's also a couple, I believe we have a couple minor ADA ramps that will be addressing, sidewalk ramps, but those are very minimal. I do know that staff is also in the process. We're looking at working with City of Kalispell on the rails to trails crossing there between Center and Idaho to get the tracks removed. And if we can get our timing right, get the tracks removed, and then we'll get that replaced prior to the grinding. So that should make for a really good transition point there as well. And that's the extent of the work that's taking place this year. I guess one other thing is our maintenance folks recently, I believe they've completed, I've been out of town, but I believe they've completed the overlay on Willow Glen. So that was another good project to get knocked out. And that's the extent of the highway construction taking place in the valley this year. Excuse me. The next project that I'll move into is one that there may be something going on, and I think this is kind of the top of everybody's mind, and that is the Kalispell Bypass and what that's going to look like. We do have a design build project that we call a Kalispell Bypass Floyd's Lake Road Interchange Project. That project begins in the neighborhood of Ashley Creek, and it runs south to, in this area here, just south of the Sound Wall. And it's the key component of that is going to be removing the roundabout at Floyd's Lake on the bypass to allow the Kalispell Bypass traffic to have a free flow situation. This project is a design build project, which is a little different than our standard design bid build project, where we hired a team. It was through a competitive process that allows us to select the best value team, and that team is LHC, who is also pairing with KLJ as the design component. And so we had our kickoff meeting last week, and we're just starting to dabble into what their design features are, what we might be able to put in there as some added alternatives as well. So I don't have a lot to share at this point. More information will be coming kind of as we wind down summer, get into fall, be looking for more info as we get ready to have some design rather than just some pencil sketches, have some drawings that we can share with the public. And Big Sky Public Relations, Courtney Sprunger's company is part of that team, and we'll be doing the public relations outreach. So look for things coming from Courtney and her staff. And then also staying with the Kalispell Bypass, we do have the other projects in the docket to complete the bypass all the way from the end of the Floyd's Lake project down to the US 93 intersection by Gardner's. So, but that's going to be a standard design bid build project. So that's still outside our funding window at this point. We don't have a time frame of when that construction will begin, but the design is in the works. And again, more will be coming out about that project probably going into next spring. Looking down my list here, continuing on for construction for next year, another intersection that I probably probably in the top 3 of comments that we receive here at the highway department, and that is the intersection located, I got lost there for a second, I apologize, right here, the Tree Line Road intersection. And I think everybody's aware there's some challenges on how these two roads meet here. The left turns create some challenges being able to see, and is it safe to go? Is it not safe to go? Like I said, I get a tremendous amount of phone calls about that intersection. One thing that's most people are surprised to hear is that we have a crash cluster of 0 right here. We have no documented crashes that law enforcement's responded to. Last time I checked, and that was about 6 months ago. So if something's happened in the last 6 months, I apologize. But everybody knows that this is a tough maneuver to make when you're pulling left out of this intersection. So we're going to be doing some improvements to that intersection, aligning the lanes and making that a much more user-friendly intersection. And that construction is going to take place next summer as well. Next project on my list for next year that I thought I'd share with everybody is zooming out here. It's a lengthy series of projects that actually start here at Hungry Horse and end in this vicinity up here east of Nyack. And it's 3 projects. We're trying to get them bundled together. That is a challenging corridor to work in, both from traffic and weather. The weather's got a pretty short construction window, which also coincides with directly when our tourist traffic hits. So very challenging area to work in, but we are trying to put together these 3 projects to get the economy of scale, get the best bang for our buck up there. And I don't know if any of you have traveled that road this lately, but there's definitely getting to be some issues, and we need to get something done to keep that road together as much as possible. So we're looking at different ways of methods of construction. Some of it's going to be some cold in place recycle, which is new to this region, but it's a way we basically revitalize the asphalt that is there. We grind it up and inject oil and put it back down in place and then put an overlay over it. We're going to be doing some of that along with some traditional overlays and some micro seals as well, just trying to get the best value and keep that much traveled road put together in a really short construction window. So everybody can look forward to that next year, I guess. And then another project in the area is the Dern Springcreek intersection, which is the flashing light west of town, located right at this location. We are going to be constructing a new roundabout in that location. It's going to be located in this quadrant right here. It's going to allow us to have a better landing area for a flat spot if you're coming up from Dern or down from Springcreek. And also with that location, we'll be able to keep Highway 2 traffic flowing by with less impacts while we're building the start of the roundabout. So tremendous amount of work has gone into this project. We've been coordinating with the trucking industry, locals. So I'm excited to make some improvements to such a challenging intersection, and one that we do have a very high crash data. And I see I've got a couple questions. Oh, right there. I guess I just answered a question and it was dismissed. So that's the status on Dern and Springcreek. All of that being said, we are still working through some right-of-way issues. We do have to obtain right-of-way from several landowners in the area, and there's some utilities, but that is on schedule for construction for next year still. And then the other project that we have that's on tap for next year is Highway 206 from the intersection here at Woody's, extending north all the way to the intersection by the Big Sky water slides. This is a safety job. We're going to be adding shoulders and flattening the slopes, just to again make that improve the safety on that route. There's several crash clusters along there, and rather than do multiple little projects, we decided to do it all at one time and just have one big project. We won't be making any serious changes to the vertical alignment, but it's going to be a great project to improve the safety and just give just a little bit more room for error out there. Right now, that thing has got just such narrow shoulders. There's places where the white line's almost painted on the grass. So excited to get that project going. And again, that one's scheduled for next summer, but we do still have some right-of-way challenges out there that we're working through. And the final project that I can talk about that I have on my docket, and my number one question, I have county commissioners, I have Joe, there's a long list of people that I have very frequent discussions about, and that is, what are we going to do with Reserve Street? And we did get Reserve Street. The classification of Reserve Street has been changed. It is no longer on the urban system. It's now on the primary system. And what that means is the urban system is a pot of funds that an allocation of around $700,000 or $750,000 a year is given to the Kalispell urban area for roadway reconstruction, which is a lot of money unless you're trying to build new roads with it. And then it's not a lot of money. It doesn't go as far as what we would like. So this project's now in the primary system, which has got a larger pot of money, but that's the good news. But the bad news is it's competing with a entire district-wide list of projects that are on the primary system. Other primary roads are Highway 82, Highway 35, Highway 83. Highway 35 is the east shore of Flathead Lake. 83 is the road down to Salmon, Sealy. 82 is across the north end of the valley. So these are some examples of just in this immediate area. And so it's a tremendous amount of needs in that pot of money. I've got, prior to the Reserve Street project being nominated, the Missoula District has, I think, approaching or just over $100 million worth of projects already in tap and we get about, I think actually it's around 130 million we have already programmed, and we get in the neighborhood of 17 to 20 million a year. So you can see that it's still quite a few years out till we get to that point. All that to say, I am, as a resident of the valley and someone who occasionally makes the mistake of trying to head on Reserve Street the wrong time of day, I'm well aware of the needs and the traffic situation up there. I'm working to try to figure out how we can get that in sooner, where we can find a hole in our budget to plug in a project. The first thing that we have going is we are beginning a study, and I know I just heard everybody groan, oh great, they're going to study. You don't need to study it. This study is going to be a relatively short process, but it will help us with the study. It actually allows us to fast track several of the other parts that become challenging, which is the environmental documents that are needed. It identifies some of the right-of-way challenges, utility challenges. There are a lot of challenges in the corridor, and when we do the study, we're going to do it all the way from Highway 2 to Highway 93, recognizing a good chunk, this little chunk here in front of Home Depot, between Home Depot and Corwin, Town Pump is completed already. But we have a bridge to contend with, on actually 2 bridges within the corridor. So it's all part of that, aligning us to better be able to proceed quickly if we can find a funding source. So that's the status. And I guess at this point, I'll open the floor to questions. I see none out there, but Joe, do you have anything else for me?
Yeah, so I'd like to invite our listeners to, scroll to your menu bar, hover your cursor over the menu bar, and there's a list that'll say mute, stop video participants, Q&A, and it's that Q&A section. If you have a question about any of what Bob has presented, or questions you may have for other projects, type your question in that Q&A section, and we'll pull it up and read from there. So while our audience is thinking about that, Bob, I wanted to thank you for the work you've done with us, the partnership you've had with the Kalispell community and the Kalispell Chamber, especially in the area of the Build Grant back in the summer of 2018. We took that group of 15 businessmen and women back to DC to lobby for those funds, and that project was announced, 12.75 million to secure the funding for the Foys Lake section of the roundabout removal and that bypass. And it's great to see that work beginning. Really proud to have LHC selected a local contractor so that money can stay and those jobs can be in this community. I know you've got your whole process, but when it works out for a local contractor, that's always a great news for us. So we appreciate your partnership and the attention. Really glad you're a state of Flathead Valley resident, even though you've got that commute to Missoula, because like you said, you know firsthand what things look like on Reserve Drive during rush hour. So that's a big priority for us, and I'm glad you get to see that. So we've got some questions now, Bob, for you, and we've got about 20 minutes. We like to take about 45 minutes and then let you and our audience get on with their day. But let's go down the list here. Let's see. I missed some of the webinar. Will it be posted on the chamber website? I'll take that one. And so this will be available on our YouTube channel, but we'll link to it. It'll be posted on our newsletter that goes out tomorrow. And then there'll be a link to it on the website. You can also just Google, or search for the Kalispell Chamber channel on YouTube, and you'll be able to find it there as well. Okay. We've got an anonymous attendee. Let's see, there's a question with respect to the Foys Lake interchange, Bob. Which traffic flow is at grade and which goes over the top?
At this point, I believe like I said, we're early in the design, and the plan is currently that the bypass will go over the top of Foys Lake. That's the current, but there are some other challenges that we need to, a final decision hasn't been made, but at this point it appears the bypass will go over Foys Lake. That's the best answer I can give you right now.
Okay, very good. Let's see, what needs to be done on the south half of the bypass? So I guess the question there, maybe you covered Foys Lake, maybe it's with regard to the south half of the bypass. You want to take that question, Bob?
You bet. And so on the south half of the bypass, generally the Foys Lake part is the northern portion of this, what we refer to as the south half of the bypass, kind of using US 2 as dividing north and south. But beyond the Foys Lake project and removing the roundabout on the bypass there, the airport road also has a roundabout. It's still a 2-lane configuration for the bypass there. So to get that to be a grade separated interchange, so again we can have free flow traffic of the bypass at that location, and then determining what we can do with the location at the Base Camp Drive or Siderius roundabout. That roundabout presents some definite challenges due to the proximity to Highway 93. It's already constructed as a 2-lane roundabout, if you will, 2 lanes on either side. So we're not sure what that final is going to look like there.
Okay, so I think that goes in with Brett Serban's question. She's a reporter for the Daily Interlake. And it says, you mentioned completing the bypass at Foys Lake down to Gardner's. What does that include exactly?
Yeah, and I think I pretty well covered that in that last question. It's again, the final build of the bypass is to have 4 lanes of traffic, 2 lanes either direction, grade separated interchanges. But like I said, the roundabout at Base Camp Drive does present some challenges, just trying to get on and off ramps and what we can look like and what that'll look like in that area.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks for that. A lot of interest in Foys Lake and that whole bypass section. So appreciate you adding some color to that, to your presentation. Let's see, we have a question about, let's see, what's going to replace the roundabout on the bypass I think we've maybe covered that. Is there, that it's a full interchange now, just like it is on the north half of the bypass? Is there anything else you want to add there? Or actually, I should say, maybe you want to address, I know people are aware of the backup, especially when school's in session, that we've been getting all the way back on the Foys Lake Road, how, under the current configuration and the traffic volumes, maybe you want to just address some of what we included in that build grant appraisal. I mean, just how quickly we hit the 2040 projections.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, Joe. When the bypass was originally, the design began on that was before I got here in 2012. I was here to kind of finalize the construction of a couple of those projects, but the design was started in the late 90s, early 2000s, and the plan was to go forward with those roundabouts. And anticipation, we had been projecting growth and what the traffic counts would look like. And the bypass proved to be even more popular than what our models had indicated they might be. I think that kind of the overall growth of the Flathead Valley there in that 2004 to 2006 range really surprised a lot of people, and I think we're getting back to it again as well. So just the amount of use that the bypass got, the interim construction was what was always anticipated for those roundabouts on the bypass. It was never the plan to be a long-term final solution, but it was, how do we get something started to build on to you have to start someplace. The age-old saying of how to eat an elephant one bite at a time. Well, in this case, they being MDT, we were unable to fund the final build out at one shot, so we started doing parts and pieces, and that by getting the south portion built, we were able to demonstrate the need and the use that allowed us to then build the north half in one construction. We were able to show, Ed Taves and I sat down, we crunched a lot of numbers, and were able to make it work out where we were able to put it together as one large project rather than several smaller projects. The south half, to finish the construction on this one, didn't really see the value in the economy of scale as such, just because the two different types of project and trying to the funding challenges are just different in a little bit different era now as well. So just recognizing the tremendous amount of traffic that goes through the Foys Lake now roundabout, soon to be interchange, is pretty exciting that we're going to be able to alleviate those backups and make that the bypass have a lot better flow and not have the conflict of through traffic on the bypass and then the traffic out of the Foys Lake neighborhood. And that traffic out of the Foys Lake neighborhood appears to go in three different directions in the morning. There's a lot wants to get into town, go to the high school in that area, but there's a fair amount that goes north on the bypass and a fair amount that goes south on the bypass. So getting a grade separated interchange will just allow that intersection to flow much better.
Oh yeah, that'll be a huge difference for that area, and what a realization of a dream that the earliest I've seen newspaper articles on that going back to the 40s. So it's been a dream a long time being realized. So thanks for sticking with that and taking it through to completion. Got a question about Old Reserve. Do you have a thought about that?
Old Reserve, I'm not sure. Maybe there is the county priority for secondary Old Reserve that goes from the Stillwater Road roundabout west to West Valley School. That project is being designed. I'm not sure what the schedule is for construction on that job though, but that is a project. It's I know it's the county's #1 priority, but I just can't remember what the schedule is for that right now.
Okay. All right. Well, let's as more information comes in, we'll be sure to share it with our our audience and our communication. So feel free, anything you want to put out and circulate to the business audience. We're happy to work with you to put out there. Here's a question, and we often get questions about this as we get into the detail of a project. What could a driver expect to see as things get under construction? How is that going to work in terms of moving existing traffic around while all this construction is going on that Foys Lake roundabout, or maybe even on the Dern roundabout?
So when can drivers, well, as far as when they can expect to see construction begin, I don't have a good feel for that yet. Again, it's a little bit unusual because it's a design build project where the design is just in its infancy at this point. It's a lot of concepts, but not a lot of design in place yet. So I'm not sure. That's up to the consultant design construction team. I do know that they have a goal to be substantially complete by November of next year. But as to when they'll have construction start, that's a function of how quickly they get design elements out to us and what order they want to put their design elements together and how they want to get started. So I've got to just try to tactfully punt that question down the road for a little bit right now, Joe. Like I said, everybody can be looking forward to seeing some releases from Big Sky as we get closer to it. But we may see something this fall, but the bulk of the construction, I would guess, will take place in late winter, early spring, moving forward from there.
Okay. Thanks for that. And let's see, any way to coordinate timing of traffic lights from FECC to Kalispell Regional Medical Center? Feels like I'm stopping at every light. You have a thought about that?
Thought is that always very challenging. Those are actuated signals, and trying to figure out how to make the signals function for northbound traffic, southbound traffic, plus the tremendous amount of traffic that wants to enter the highway from whether it's FEC, 4 Mile Drive, Meridian. It's kind of a complex neighborhood up there. I'm definitely not a traffic engineer or a signal timing expert, but I do know that we're constantly looking at traffic and trying to figure out how to change timings to make them function as best as possible. And I will bring that up to our traffic engineer's attention again and see when we last took a look at it. One thing that's challenging about those things, like I said, is as we go through the year, sometimes where the traffic's coming from, particularly in our valley here, can change. Kids sports plays a huge part in that. Sometimes parts of the year, the college plays a role at different times of the year, and then our seasonal traffic changes also. So it's a kind of a moving target we're trying to shoot for, but I'll have our traffic engineer take a look at those again.
Oh, thanks, Bob. Thanks for taking a look at that. Here, Jeff Stevenson says, "Get her done." So got a cheerleader there to keep charging ahead on all these projects. Let's see. Can you see that question? What projects will be going out to bid and available on the plans exchange? Are you familiar with that? What he's referencing there?
I am not. All of our projects are all available through our project website. People can look at them, and we do take all electronic bids. And I honestly am not familiar with that program at all. There's no name associated with that, but I would encourage whoever asked the question to contact me. My email is rvosen@mt.gov. Again, rvosen@mt.gov.
All right, very good.
You want to send that my way, I'm not going to have the answer, but I can get you pointed in the direction to find an answer for you.
Great, that's great. Thanks for making that referral. And this question comes from Diane Bokor regarding the railroad tracks downtown. I suspect that might be a little out of your purview, but is there anything you can add to that?
I know that it's coming soon, and I know that we have worked with our contractor on the Kalispell concrete rehab project to perform our work in that southern leg of the project, if you will, to the end. So hopefully the tracks can be removed and the new concrete replaced before we get there, so that we can try to coordinate and get the best final project. But as for when that removal will begin, that's not my area, sorry to say.
Okay. I can let Diane know that we're scheduled to have a presentation on the Kalispell Transportation Plan, Bob, which I know is a partnership between the city of Kalispell and MDT to update the area transportation plan around Kalispell. We'll be meeting with the design consultants on that KLJ probably the second half of September, Diane. So mark that on your calendar, and we'll, as we get that date finalized, we'll make sure to get it out to everybody. But mark your calendar for that. And we know that definitely that railroad track and the linear trail through downtown Kalispell, that will be a part of that presentation. So keep an eye open for that. Finally, our last question is regarding expanding 4 Mile Drive, Evergreen Drive, to alleviate east-west traffic on Rose Crossing and Reserve. I know that's come up many times in City Council regarding the development that's starting to occur north of Reserve there, and just what's happening with that cross traffic, about Reserve, and some of that is overflowing onto Rose Crossing, which really isn't designed to handle that. And maybe cover too, what pot of funds is Rose Crossing in?
So Rose Crossing is a county road, and I'll zoom the map in. The issue with Rose Crossing, for those of you that haven't traveled it recently or maybe haven't been on it, but it's this sharp hairpin curve right here, if you will. It's a 90-degree corner. It is a good alternate route that people are using if you're looking for a shortest line of travel. Connects Highway 93 to US 2, basically parallels West Reserve, but it is a county road. The developer has upgraded and made this connection a couple of years ago past the new Kalispell Ford dealership. There's a lot of work going on in this area, but the road from Whitefish Stage to the east, down all the way down to where it ties into Highway 2. This is just an old county road that does need some attention. It's not on the secondary program, so the only pot of money I'm aware of is whatever the county commissioners have to qualify that as, because it's not a secondary road, so it doesn't qualify under our secondary roads program. The other part of that question is something that I also am asked quite frequently, and that's the connection of 4 Mile Drive across to Grandview Drive, and then it picks up on the other side. Evergreen ties down into Highway 2 as well. There's this stretch right through here that's missing. There is right of way through the corridor, but again, these are city and county roads out of MDT's jurisdiction. It would be a relatively short project to add 2 lanes and a bridge across here, but again, not an MDT project, and MDT doesn't have a way to really assist with that other than we could probably offer some technical reviews and assistance in that fashion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Things are pushing north with Reserve, and now we're talking about Rose Crossing and Grandview, Evergreen. Definitely the push for population growth doesn't even seem to be slowing down in the environment we're in currently. So continued growth pressures and increased traffic, and we appreciate you being on the line today. Maybe I'll just offer it to you for a closing statement. We're almost at the 45-minute mark, and we're out of questions and time to wrap up our program. I'll give it to you for final thoughts, Bob.
I just want to thank everybody, encourage people to reach out to myself and my staff. John Schmidt, many of you know that I was a construction engineer for MDT for 8 or 9 years up here. John Schmidt is local Kalispell native, longtime family of the valley, and he has my old position right here in Kalispell, so he's another great contact as well. But just reach out to either of us or our maintenance staff. We've got a presence, and we definitely want to continue to be working towards helping to improve the transportation network in the valley. All of us love the valley that we live in and want to be good neighbors and help with the challenges that we have. And one of the challenges we're facing, as you said, Joe, is just a tremendous growth in traffic. And appreciate all the support that you've given MDT over the years, and really enjoyed the relationship we've developed over the last 8 or 9 years. And best wishes going forward for you as well.
All right. Appreciate it, Bob. And thanks for being on the line today with such great information for our listening audience here in the Flathead. And back at you with the appreciation for all you've done to help us. And I've really enjoyed working with you to keep pressing forward here on our highway capabilities here in the Flathead. So thanks so much for being on the line. To our listeners, join us in 2 weeks on Wednesday the 29th with Senator Tester, and stay tuned for future editions of this Top Issues of the Day. Thanks again, Bob. And
Thanks. Everybody have a great day.
All right. Thanks much. Take care.
Bye.